Hey fellow tennis nerds, I hope all is well. I've got a lot of questions over the last few weeks about gear, so I thought I'll talk about that today. First of all, Carlos Alcaraz, he has changed his strings. He did lose now to Roddick van de Zandschulp in the US Open second round. Obviously, he's had some issues from what I heard with the team. Source Craig Shapiro, who's been on my podcast, and he's also obviously maybe suffering a little bit of a hangover from losing that Olympic gold medal to Novak Djokovic. Anyway, he's changed from RPM Blast to RPM Thiem. RPM Thiem is kind of a softer version of Blast. Bubble Reps can confirm if this is true or not, but that's my experience after testing it. It plays similar to Blast, similar shape, similar texture, a little bit softer though. So I think to save Carlito's elbow, this was a good choice. Seems that it hasn't affected his game in a negative way, looking at what he did at Wimbledon. Maybe he changed even at the French Open. So 2 slams with this string, so nothing wrong there. Maybe he just needs now a break from tennis a little bit to regroup and find his groove again for the remainder of the season. Is Kokkinakis using an arrow or an E-zone? And right now it looks like a blacked out arrow. I think he's under contract with Yonex, and so that's why this is blacked out. That's what happens if they want to play with their old frame. He was an arrow user, went to the Pure Strike 1820 for a few years. Obviously his career has been very injury prone, and now he's with the bubble arrow blacked out again after using the E-zone 98, which won him his first title in Adelaide 2022. Obviously the racket doesn't win the title, it's the player, but he's been a little bit on and off with this E-zone and the arrow using Laxonale power 125 gauge, I think, but it's a really high tension. It's like 60 pounds. We also have Luca Pouille back to his Prince Tour 100p. Well, I don't think he left it in a quite a while. He's back to playing on a decent level, soon maybe climbing into the top 100 again. As you might know, he was a top 10 player when he played in 2018. He was a top 10 player, then injuries and other issues came up, and now he's right 140 in the world. But you know, he has the talent to be ranked higher, but he is playing with a new cosmetic for the Prince Tour 100p that he's been using. He had a stint with the Bubble at Pure Drive, but now he's using the Prince Tour 100p, and that was the racket that I think he broke through with as well, so I think he should stay with that one. But they have a new cosmetic now out on Tennis Warehouse, not Tennis Warehouse Europe or Tennis Only yet, but Tennis Warehouse, they have the carbon of the ATS Tour rackets. It looks great. Currently only available in the 290 gram and the 98 model. Maybe you're not super curious in what Dominic Thiem is using, but someone pointed out that he's using 1619. I think I've talked about that in a mixed bag video before. He has been using a 1619 racket instead of the 1820 that he used for most of his career with the Pure Strike. So the Pure Strike 1619 get a bit more free depth power. Hasn't really helped. I mean, his body and his mind is not really in tennis anymore, and it's been a bit of a sad ending to the Thiem career. He had such a promised potential and did many great things as a tennis player, but sometimes life has different plans for you, and in this case it did. He is finishing his career, retiring in Vienna in October, I think it is. So Andy Roddick is not an active player anymore, but still some hoopla around his racket switch. I made a video suggesting rackets to him. He's sponsored by Wilson. I said Wilson was a likely sponsor. They are really on the ball these days. He was looking for something else outside his bubble at Pure Drive Roddick. You know, they even have the model named after him, a longer, heavier version of the Pure Drive from some years back that he used during his career. But he's been using now Wilson Shift 99, customized, probably extended in length. Andy has to confirm this, but I would guess so. Customized to heavier specs for sure. It's the Shift 99, not the Shift Pro, and with the 1620 pattern. Maybe he has some custom drill pattern as well. You don't know, but it looks to be a Shift at least. And since he's not playing tournaments or any kind of official matches really, then besides maybe like some Champions Tour events with the old Legends tournaments, then it makes sense to he can play with a little bit or whatever. But he likes the Shift. The Shift is an interesting frame, quite a modern racket. I think it was in my predictions as well. Nothing shocking there. But if you followed his podcast Served, which is great, can recommend it, then maybe you have thought about this whole thing. It was something I had to point out. Andrei Rublev has new shoes, now signed with K-Swiss. This has been a while in the making. They did this a while back. He's using a new model of some kind, maybe a signature model that they're gonna release. It's a big sign for them. He has the Rublev logo, his own clothing brand, on the shoes. Not sure what it is. It looks quite new, quite unique. And some more news to come about those. And last but not least, Nishikori, back in action, playing well. Beat Tsitsipas. It's a Masters tournament here leading up to the US Open. Obviously, he has had a good career, but very injury prone and you know, plays a few matches, maybe some unnecessary 5-setters, and then gets injured. But great player when he's playing well and he's taking the ball early and so on. So new racket for him since this season, and not sure what the mold is. It's an Ultra by the Cosmetic. He's endorsing the Ultra from Wilson. But what is it? I think it's something relatively unique or rare. So if you have any information, I know you, Silver, and other guys, you're the racket collectors or racket finders, you usually know these things or manage to track something down, but we'll see in this case if someone can figure out what Nishikori is using. If I have more information, I will let you know. That's some gear observations. If you have more, send them to the Tennis Nerd Insta account, Instagram, put them in the contact us form that I try to go through once a week, sometimes with some delay. In terms of racket advice and consultations, you can still purchase a consultation if you want one. My time is super limited, so I can't really do too many of those. Put it in the description of this video if you're interested in a consultation. We'll also have racket advice where you can comment, and I'll pick some for future videos coming up. But don't just send them in like an email or contact form or via Instagram if you can avoid it, because I get like hundreds of these every week, so it's just impossible. And I would be doing nothing else than doing those, and completely unpaid labor, so it's not really ideal. Thank you, have a nice day, and don't forget to play some tennis.